Ripple, the technology and cryptocurrency that wants to change the banking industry by offering a state-of-the-art, decentralized payment network for financial transactions. It has gained a lot of popularity and fans over the last few years, and if you want to see Ripple explained for beginners and learn more about its basics, smash the like button to help out the channel and keep watching. Okay, so let's start with some context. Ripple was created back in 2012 by Chris Larsen and Jed McCaleb, and similar to Bitcoin and most other cryptocurrencies, Ripple is open sourced, meaning that the code is available to anyone and developers from all over the world can contribute to the code, which ensures security through transparency and makes it quicker and easier to patch the code if a security issue is found. Ripple is a peer-to-peer decentralized platform, so basically it is not hosted by one or a block of servers owned by a single or handful of institutions, but instead it is hosted and supported by a number of people, institutions and organizations known as validators. There is no central authority that decides who can form a node or who validates transactions, unlike, for example, a government or a traditional company where you have a single central authority like the head of state or the CEO. So essentially, all of the nodes act as equals. Some of the validators on the Ripple network include the University of Kansas, the University of North Carolina, BlockDemon, BitTrue, Alloy Networks, etc. Essentially, we have a wide variety of validators already, and since it is open sourced and generally open to the community, anyone can host a validator, and Ripple even have a guide on their website on how to do that. Now, Ripple is the name of the company, technology and the platform, but its cryptocurrency is XRP, although people often use them interchangeably. As of 23rd of June, XRP is the 7th largest cryptocurrency, with a market capitalization of $29.2 billion US. What that means is that the total value of all XRP in circulation is $29.2 billion US, which you get by multiplying the current price of XRP, which is just over 63 cents at 0.6315 US, and the circulating supply, which is 46.2 billion. Unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, additional Ripple and XRP cannot be mined, so the supply is locked. However, there is an additional 6.1 billion XRP held by Ripple and an additional 47.6 billion held in a cryptographically secured escrow account, so the total supply can reach 100 billion if necessary, but it cannot go above it. If you're wondering why they're holding so much Ripple locked up, let's just say that the main idea is to keep it from flooding the market at the same time and to protect the liquidity of XRP. Also, even though the maximum supply is only 100 billion, Ripple can be divided down to 6 decimal points, which account for 100 quadrillion drops of XRP, which is quite a lot. Okay, so what is Ripple actually used for? Ripple was built for the purpose of facilitating financial transactions. So, Ripple's main process is a payment settlement asset exchange and remittance system. Something like the SWIFT payment system for international money transfers, which you have probably heard of if you have ever sent money abroad to your bank. SWIFT is pretty much the industry standard used by banks and other financial institutions when dealing across currencies, but Ripple is slowly growing in popularity, although it is still in its very early stages. Essentially, Ripple allows you to transfer money quickly and seamlessly, with a tiny fee regardless of whether it is in dollars, euros, yens, or even other cryptocurrency. And it also allows you to convert this money, so for example, you can send dollars and your recipient can actually receive euros. However, one of the main advantages of Ripple is its speed. Transactions can be settled within seconds on the Ripple network, as opposed to days or sometimes weeks when using other traditional methods like SWIFT. Plus, Ripple can securely handle millions of transactions frequently, although, to be a bit more specific, Ripple's transactions per second, also known as TPS, are 1,500 right now, according to cryptotps.com. However, Ripple's TPS did once peak to 4,500 in November 2019, although Ripple also claims that it can scale up to 50,000 transactions per second, or essentially the same amount as Visa. As I said though, Ripple is still in its early stages of adoption and development, although there are already some well-known banks and institutions that are using it, like, for example, American Express, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Royal Bank of Canada, and so on. Ripple Labs, meaning the company, is currently seeing its customers tripling per year, so we can see that Ripple's adoption is actually accelerating really quick. Okay, so far we have learned what Ripple is, we have learned about XRP, we have learned what Ripple is used for, but we still don't know how Ripple actually works. Currently, the two most popular concepts upon which cryptocurrencies are based are proof of work, which is what Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and a lot of other cryptocurrencies use, and secondly, proof of stake, which is most notably used by Cardano. Both concepts have advantages, both have drawbacks, but Ripple does not use either. Instead, Ripple uses a consensus protocol to validate account balances and transactions on the system, and that protocol is called the Ripple Transaction Protocol. This may be an oversimplification, but essentially what happens is that whenever a new transaction is received between two nodes, it is pushed to all of the nodes or validators on the network so that it can be approved. The first level, sort of a checkpoint, is an approval of 50%, meaning that 50% of all of the nodes on the Ripple network have approved the transaction. If the transaction achieves that, it gets pushed further and further to achieve a higher and higher level of approval. Finally, the transaction becomes legitimate and is written to the Ripple ledger once it achieves an 80% approval rate. These validations are instant and take roughly 3 to 5 seconds. After that, the transaction becomes part of the Ripple blockchain. There is a lot of confusion on the internet whether Ripple actually uses blockchain or not, but both the Ripple website and the XRP ledger website say that it does, so I will agree with them. I think that some people confuse proof of work and proof of stake with blockchain, and although they're related, they're not the same. So, to summarize and put all of the buzzwords together, Ripple uses a consensus protocol on a decentralized blockchain platform. And hopefully, by now, you will have some idea of what those words actually mean. Please let me know in the comments below whether the explanation made sense. If not, I will try to explain it a bit more simply in a different video. Finally, Ripple has one very important distinction from other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Cardano. Validators on the Ripple network do not actually get a reward. From the looks of it, Ripple is entirely community driven, and the main incentive to host a Ripple validator is to ensure that it is legitimate. So basically, if you rely on the XRP ledger for your personal or business needs, you'll be interested in hosting one. On the plus side, running a Ripple validator is actually extremely efficient in terms of power and money really. Some users have shared that hosting a node costs them about €15 per month, which is about 13 British pounds or 18 US dollars, which is nothing when compared to the massive electricity consumption of the Bitcoin network, which almost equals that of Ukraine, a country with a population of 44 million. Plus, Ripple does not require extremely powerful computer hardware to run, unlike Ethereum or Bitcoin, so we can see that Ripple is actually much more accessible and easier to run by the broader public, which is a big advantage in my opinion. Even though this sounds less secure, I've not actually been able to find any substantial criticism of the security of the Ripple network. Finally, none of the transaction data on the Ripple network is linked to the ID or account of the business or individual, so the transactions between Ripple wallets are essentially anonymous. That is the case with most cryptocurrencies, to be fair. If you're wondering what a Ripple wallet is, well, it's essentially a piece of software or hardware, also known as hot or cold wallets, which allow you to securely store your cryptocurrency. Some wallets are specific to your cryptocurrency, others can be used for a different variety, but the main point is that they hold your cryptocurrency nice and safe. Ripple is actively developed and new features and small improvements are constantly added to the network. If you want to keep up with the news, the best thing to do is join the Ripple subreddit or just visit the Ripple and XRP websites. If you're interested in other cryptocurrencies like Cardano and ADA, make sure you check out my other videos. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and share to help it grow the channel. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video.